Hello, welcome to the third edition of Helsinki Diplomatic Sessions, which are webinars on photography organized by Helsinki Photo Festival in Helsinki. We welcome to this third webinar 4 participants. 3 are already with us. We will have from Spain, Susana Girón. I hope I just spelled your name correctly. We will have from Norway, Linda Bournane Engelberth. We will have from Estonia, Angelika Kollin. She's based in Florida.
Hello.
Yes. And we will have Charlotte Lakits from France with us today.
Hi.
A few little words from Helsinki Photo Festival. We have been running for a couple of years, and we are annually organizing a festivity for 12 weeks, starting in the beginning of July, running to the end of September. In this period, we exhibit 50 winners from all around the world, which have satisfied the jury with a theme that we choose every year for photographers to submit works to us for consideration. This year, the festival theme is Fearless, and we've been really blown away from, we received over 5,000 images this year. It was really very, very challenging to select the winners, and we decided during our discussions with some embassies, how can we put more effort on the photographer's work by introducing photographers with their own works in their own words. So I'm very happy to have 4 wonderful photographers today with us that will bring their best works closer to you and a better way to understand why they won the open call with us this year. I would say what else can I say? I mean the festival in 2021 has grown much more. This year we are like all over the greater Helsinki area, so we have exhibitions in Helsinki at iconic places like the Finlandia Hall or the Helsinki Swimming Stadium. We have exhibitions in Hanaholmen and in Keranhallit, which is in Espoo. We have exhibitions in Vantaa, which is close, which is basically most people that come to Finland know about Vantaa because the airport is located over there. And then we have as well some exhibitions in Kauniainen, and these are like the 3 largest municipalities around Helsinki. So we are very happy to have everywhere some photographs that can be explored 24/7 by spectators, residents, tourists, interested to learn more about photography. Of course, we have many other projects. I mean, the festival runs every year for a long period. For the first 6 weeks is mainly we build the exhibitions, let the people explore exhibitions and photography. And then after the period of 6-7 weeks, we start pedagogical events such as we're doing now with the webinars. There will be seminars, there will be portfolio reviews and many other things. And we welcome everybody who can make it to participate either in person or online with our events. But now I'm really welcome with high anticipation Susana Girón from Spain. She has brought a really wonderful project to us, Unlimited Youth. I really look forward to hear more from you, and you're on show. Go.
Okay. I am very excited being part of the festival of Helsinki Photo Festival and sharing this meeting with the audience and the rest of the companions. Thanks to Rafael, Laura, and the rest of the team for making it possible. And first of all, I would like to say apologize in advance because my English is not good enough.
I'm sorry, Susana. I'm just quickly being put back. Can you press the green button to make the full screen of your presentation?
Okay. Is here.
Yes.
Okay.
We still don't see it. We see at the moment still your schablone.
Now?
Yes, wonderful. Thank you very much. I'm off.
So apologies in advance because my English is not good enough. But I will try I will try my best to make this presentation good. First of all, I would like to introduce a little my work and to say that one of my greatest challenge that I pose to myself every day in my work as a photojournalist or photodocumentary maker is to find stories that excite and surprise. For me, the emotion and surprise are the key elements that I look for in my stories. If our work doesn't excite, doesn't provoke something, we're failing as photographers, as communicators. I think the worst thing that can happen to our work is that it leaves an audience indifferent. We must to cause something, to cause a feeling, and a smile, a cry, a shiver, an emotion, but to cause something. And we also have the duty to surprise, starting from the premise that everything has been told, everything has been photographed before. The challenge now is to tell the same stories with different perspectives or visions, with our personal point of view. About this project in concrete, in 2015, I came across an article in a newspaper that talked about some world championships for master athletes that were being held in Lyon, in France. I knew immediately that I wanted to tell that story because it had all the elements that I normally look for in my stories. I contact with the Spanish Athletics Federation, and they immediately put me in touch with the Masters Division. And then I began to photograph two athletes in their training season and daily routines. Manuel Alonso, at that time he was 80 years old, and Teresa Lira, she was 67 years old at the time. Then I started photographing them at various tournaments, but I focus more on the competition themselves than on their personal life. Since then, I have photographed in 2 world championships in Spain and South Korea, in 2 European championships in Spain and Italy, and in 4 Spanish championships, local national championships.
I'm sorry, Susana, to interrupt you quickly. I mean, will you start your slide presentation? Because we're still with the first image. You still need to
okay, sorry.
at the moment we are a little bit. Oh yes, thank you very much.
Okay.
I'm off again.
Okay. Now the pandemic has cancelled many of the competitions, but my idea now is to remain linked with the project to find new ways to enrich this story. What always attracted me to this story is the inspiring part it has for the people. When you see people of 80 or 100 years old jumping, running, or throwing as they do, it's immediately translated into a source of inspiration that invite us to give the best of ourselves. Also, part of the works wants to give value to an age group that we normally underestimate, an age group that doesn't have the presence or recognition in society that it deserves. At least this is my opinion. This work has made me reflect on the concept of age, what it really means to be elder. Obviously, there is a physical youth, which is undeniable, but at the same time, there is a youth of a spirit that is almost as important as physical age. I think that being young means being curious about life, squeezing experiences, learning from encounters, having dreams or determination to fight for them, even if sometimes you don't achieve them. Too often, I see young people who lack the motivation that I am talking about, contrary to master athletes. In my opinion, you really get old when you stop being curious and passionate about things, about life, and this is independent of life. This is, I really think so, what I am saying. On the photographic level, I began photographing athletes in very sporty poses, photos that could be on the pages of any sports newspaper. But this kind of images left me empty. I had the feeling of having seen them 100 times. They seemed to me not surprising photos, or at least in my opinion. So I began to look for other kinds of images, photographs that would go beyond the descriptive manner and will lean more towards the evocative appearance, such as open images that invite the viewer to ask questions without obtaining clear answers or certainties. Images that break the sports iconography a bit to get a bit into a field of the emotions where everything is less concrete and more uncertain. For me, that has been the great challenge, the most difficult, because it's very easy to let yourself be carried away by the beauty of a spectacular sporting gesture. In the end, for me, has been very funny, because when I was photographing in the World Championship, for example, with many other photographers, they would always look at me in a strange way, as if they didn't know what I was doing. For example, if we were shooting in the high jump pit, everyone had huge thumbs or telephoto lens looking for the right moment when the athlete was on the highest point of the jump. And then I was quiet, doing nothing, and I began to photograph with a 35 millimeters or 50 millimeter lens, a very small lens. And when the athlete fell into the sand, I started to photograph. They looked at me in a very curious way, like if to know. They was like guessing if I was totally lost or really knew what I was doing. What was clear to me is what my images was looking for another different point of view from the other photographers. We are seeing now some of that images, looking for different point of view, different angles, different perspective. But after some time, I started to get bored with this, looking for this kind of images too. And I started looking for a new ways to enrich the project and keep my motivation. I had the idea of photographing the athletes immediately after taking part in the competitions, using a black background and natural light, and invite them to pose facing the camera. Now I will see some of that images. Then I tell them to write with their handwriting and advice that they would give to a young person. I have a notebook dedicated just for this, where I keep hundreds of manuscripts of these athletes in dozens of different languages. I will show you. I will see where the images are. This is the images what I am talking about. This is the idea what I would like to continue working by now. Perhaps in my mind I am looking, or I have in mind a future photo book with using these portraits and handwriting of the athletes, giving the advice to the young people. And for the last, I would like to say in this short presentation is I would like to share with you a small moment, one of the most special moments and the most beautiful moment, and that this profession, in my professional life as a photojournalist. Thanks to this photograph, this one exactly, of Teresa Liras, the first athlete that I started to photograph in 2015. I won an important photojournalism award in Spain. I had a very special friendship with Teresa, which emerged during the project. After a year, she became ill with a cancer, and when they give me the award, I text her a message in which I said, "Teresa, we have won this award. I don't know anyone who represents better than you the values that sports implies. I knew that by then she was already very ill. She didn't respond that message, although I knew she had received it. A few days later, her daughter, Lara, answered my message with another message that said, Susana, thank you for your message. My mother passed away yesterday, but I was able to read the message you sent her when she was still aware of it. It was the last time she smiled before losing consciousness. Thank you very much for giving us this moment. In my opinion, just for stories like that, our profession is not only worth it, but it also makes the most beautiful in the world. And just to say thank you to everybody to share with me this presentation. I think I don't know if any of you have any question or something, and thank you for sharing.
Bravo, Susana. I mean, honestly, this is such a beautiful, exceptional project. I hope. We as a jury, when we saw your project, I have to say, I totally agree with you. I mean, age is totally underestimated. When we saw the pictures, we couldn't believe it, that there's international competitions of pensionists or retired people still doing something in their life, like such kinds of sports, which can, change perspective on somebody's life. I mean, it's really something active. This is, so wonderful. I just have to ask, I was just wondering, when we were looking as well at these pictures, you saw, lots of athletes giving their best ability, what they can do to run, to win, to get a medal. But have you also seen things where it didn't went right? And how can I say? I don't know. I'm still so young. One day I will get into this age, and I hope I still can run that far. But is this?
They normally. Most of them are in very good health, are in very good shape, but sometimes their motivation, they're willing to give their best. Sometimes provoke dangerous situations, dangerous things, because they want to win the race, or they want to keep on the race when they are totally exhausted. And sometimes the doctors has to okay, don't worry, stop.
Give them maybe some more air.
keep calm. The most important thing is to remain alive, not to live in this. But normally, I could see one arm broke or something like that. But it really, honestly, is the least.
Yes, you have really captured some. For us, it was really one of the most impressive projects we have seen, because as I said, I totally disagree. It's an age group which is totally underestimated as to what lengths they go to run, participate, and win in such competitions. So thank you.
They are all, but they have a lot of things to give to the society still. I really think that. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Susana, for your presentation. Very nice to have you with us, and all the best to you and to Spain. Now, it's time to introduce the next photographer in this project. Now we are introducing Angelika Kollin from Estonia. Is she with us? Hello, welcome to our Helsinki diplomatic session webinars on photography. I'm very happy to have Angelika Kollin with us, which is a Florida-based photographer from Estonia. Yes. She has won in the Nordic Artists competitions, which is a side event to the international open call that we host every year, where we highlight exceptional photographers from the Nordic Baltic area. And in this genre, in this aspect, Angelika has won our hearts. So now it's time for you to go to present your works, and then we come back with some questions to you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. And here we go. I call my presentation The Power of Seeing. And it's not so much a particular project as it is the collection of images that I chose that, in my opinion, represent my deep interest in finding out what is it that gives people strength to be courageous and what gives them hope in the difficult times when circumstances are hard. And I'll start my presentation with this portrait that I call Marta is Our Future. This is a portrait of Malawian immigrant Emmanuel and his 2-year-old daughter, Marta. Emmanuel and his wife are struggling day in and day out in order to survive in a very harsh reality of life inside one of numerous townships located on the outskirts of the wealthy suburbs of Cape Town, South Africa. The daily struggles he faces, like pretty much anybody else in those areas, are poverty, crime, lack of employment, just to name the few. And yet, against all odds, Emmanuel is not giving up. He is strong in spirit, he keeps going. And the reason for that, in my opinion, from what I found out talking to him, is he has this really powerful dream. We can also call it hope. And that's what gives him future. He dreams and believes, and in a way absolutely knows there's a certainty in this man that his daughter Marta, who is his only child, and her generation of Africans will have a better life. And having a dream for his daughter is what makes this man fearless. And it gives him a purpose and definitely meaning for his life and for his struggle. So that's the portrait right in front of you, and his 2 more. It's quite a large series of portraits with different people, but pretty much with very similar story, all from Africa as well. I always engage with photography as a natural creative extension of my lifelong interest in spirituality and the search for meaning. I was mainly driven by a deep-rooted desire to understand why is human existence so full of struggle and suffering? Does it serve any particular purpose? And if so, what is it? And as well, at least for myself, I wanted to understand how other people live through their struggles and stay hopeful and strong. And that is one thing, as a European, I saw really strongly in Africa, because the conditions that you see there often are absolutely incomprehensible. How can one not only survive in that, but actually not break inside? While I couldn't find my answers in books, I was consistently fortunate to meet just the right people and their life stories to look into. My creative process became an invitation to a true intimacy, often with almost complete strangers. It taught me to compassionately visit my subjects' often difficult lives and respectfully acknowledge and observe their hardship through the act of seeing. you don't want to really feel sorry for those people, because that's not what they want. That's not what they like. They don't want you to look at them with the eyes how you look at the victim. So I learned firsthand how impactful and powerful it was to just witness it. And this act of witnessing can be for the subject and the artist, an extremely powerful or empowering experience. I have experienced the unifying power of realization of how inherently the same we all are. When we remove all those, skin colors, economic condition, geography, ultimately, archetypally, we're all the same. Looking at hardship and the message of hope it carries became my ongoing meditation. Not that I was consciously seeking it, rather in some cyclical way, it had its grip over me and demanded my full attention. The image in front of you is called Hold Me Till I Go. And it's the name of the series of portraits depicting 75-year-old Katinka Hall and her battle with cancer. They were taken in early 2020 between the chemotherapy sessions. Katinka was a very close friend of mine, and knowing the state of her health, we felt a sense of urgency to capture this moment in time. It was a time of great challenges, facing and accepting the most likely and predicted outcome, despite her absolute all-consuming desire to live. She was the most she was the most fearless woman I have ever photographed. And I'm forever grateful for her allowing me to be a witness to this very sacred moment in her life. In February 2021, Katinka passed away. So, Lucky's boy. This is a portrait of Malawian immigrant Laksan Nkomani and his son Daniel. I got a privilege to photograph Lucky. That's how he introduces himself on many occasions, and was happy in late 2020 to create this portrait for my, at that moment, ongoing project, You Are My Father. As I curiously asked Lucky how he came to choose the name Daniel for his newborn son, which is quite uncommon for, his group of people, he shared with me the following story. A few years ago, Lucky met a European man named Daniel, who was staying as a guest at the property where Lucky is employed as a gardener. Daniel, a nice white man, as Lucky described him, treated him with such kindness, and most importantly, he made Lucky feel as an equal. The story left me in tears because growing up in Europe, these are the things we take for granted. Lucky too is fearless. Lucky as well has future. He dreams and hopes that his son, Daniel, will live in society where everybody is equal, no matter the color of your skin and your economic background. Here are some more portraits of Lucky. It was really, really powerful session, really powerful. You Are My Mother. This was the project I photographed over the span of 2020 and 2021, and it expanded over 3 continents. As the COVID pandemic rolled over the world, we found ourselves going back to basics and spending more time with our families. In April 2020, while still in complete lockdown in South Africa, I witnessed and documented a beautiful act of forgiveness between a mother and her adult daughter. It touched me so much that it possessed me almost, you can say that. I want to explore the same so-called story in other mother-child connections, examining mostly the impact it has on my own family life and that of my audience. This project, it was not really a groundbreaking story. It was not some new discovery and something the world has not seen. And it took a fair amount of courage and trust for the families I photographed to be completely open and vulnerable in front of the camera. But when we looked back at this journey of consciously, fully present, revisiting the emotional connection between a parent and a child, and understanding how it shapes us for the rest of our life, we could see instant, tangible results and positive change within the lives of people involved in this art project. It became quite a large project, and of course, myself included as well. And I would like to add the quote, which I find really beautiful, by well-known Brené Brown, that she says so wisely: staying vulnerable is a risk we have to take if we want to experience connection. And here, a few more images from that project. The image on the left, that's the image I was referring to that act of forgiveness. And here's some more. It was a very big project, and actually it's spilled into the project You're My Father. So we started incorporating fathers as well. And that's the end of it. Thank you.
Wonderful. I mean, it's so inspirational to have seen all your works. I mean, I remember you were one of the very few photographers that have sent very few images only, but those 3 images that you actually sent during the submission process of the open call, they were so strong that we kind of we were curious to see a little bit more, and then you shared more of these images, and some of them that we have just seen, and they are so inspirational, deep. I mean, you really have the ability to capture marvelous situation just as they are. I mean, some of the images are a little bit, how can I say? I mean, they are not pretty, but life is not pretty. In general, and I mean, you depict this perfectly. So I mean, I was really happy that you sent us more images, and we had more possibilities to show more of your works during this festival. And everybody, please, I mean, the exhibitions, who is in Helsinki or who comes to Helsinki, they can see the works of Angelika, Kollin in Hannaholmen in between Helsinki and Espoo. It's a wonderful exhibition. Please come there. Just one question. So you are working more with, I mean, you're still working, I mean, working with more themes. I understand that this is like a project in progress, that you work with daughter, mother, family issues, or?
This project, in a way, I sense is finished, but currently I'm exploring something new. I started a new project, which I call Life with a Clean Slate. And it's basically, it started with me photographing a woman that served maximum sentence and came out at the age of 43 out of the jail, and actually was able to have the strength of spirit to leave that past behind, and the judgment and everything that comes with it. And she just had a baby 3 months ago. She is happily married, and she's starting completely new life for herself. And I find it, I don't want to use the word interesting, but definitely a powerful statement to start over and to be able to leave that dark past behind, which in a way, in her case, when I saw it, I thought, our past is just our story. It's just a story. We can close it and leave it behind and start over. And so I'm in the beginning of that project. I don't know where it's going to take me, but I find it very interesting for now.
It sounds very intriguing to photograph a person that is back in society and trying to start a new life the way as it is. I mean, I can, or I would imagine that it's very difficult if you have been for a long time out of a society, then to come back. Sometimes we see this in movies or cinemas. How are these situations for ex-con? There is, I'm sure there is lots of struggle, and if it positively goes right, then I think you are on very interesting. I'm sorry for using the word interesting, but on
Yeah, it's okay.
Of exploring a positive experience, how it can go right, and we should not judge people that have been
Yes.
sentenced for something that did a long time ago. And
Yes.
yes, Angelika, thank you very much. I am already getting many messages. Please speed up. And I said, I'm sorry, every photographer, every participant is doing this. I mean, most participants participating this webinar is doing this for the first time. And I'm really thanking everybody for their time, for presenting and developing their presentation to show and share with everyone. So a big bravo from my side, and thank you so much.
Thank you
For being taking part in these webinars. And as well, I get one comment back from you, from some of your friends. So I'm just saying,
I know.
Some regards from Cape Town in South Africa. Thank you for your inspiration, Angelika.
Yeah, this is this is one of the girls that actually lives in a township, and she creates a change. Beautiful person. Yeah.
Thank you so much in regards to her, and thank you so much. I need to go.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. I'm switching over now to the next presenter, photographer, and very talented photographer, Linda Bournane Engelberth from Norway. Hello, Linda. Welcome. Welcome from Oslo. I think you're in Oslo.
Yes.
I'm very happy to have you on as well in these webinars with all the other extremely talented photographers. You have won the open call with one of your projects outside the binary. It has been overwhelmingly successful for you with Helsinki Photo Festival. You have been in so many exhibitions, you've been displayed in so many exhibitions, and there's a lots of feedback that we've been receiving from spectators that this is like the peak of the time. I mean, there's a lot of discussions about the situation of change, of man is a woman or vice versa. But I give the presentation now to you and refer in the background.
Thank you. I will just put my screen. Thank you for being part of the Helsinki Photo Festival. I'm so happy when my project reached out to many people. Thank you, Angelika, for your really nice presentation. So I've been working on this project for 3 years. It's called Outside the Binary. It is about people identifying outside the gender binary, man and woman. That means that they don't feel like the gender binary. They either feel like both man and a woman, or they don't feel gender at all, or they're on a spectrum of how they feel their gender. It's many different ways to talk about it, and people are feeling a bit differently. Like you have agender, gender non-conforming, non-binary people. Gender fucker is a lot of expressions, but that's why I called it Outside the Binary. The project is about people from all over the world. I've been in many different countries. And in a way, it's an activism project because I'm really trying to gathering people's voices. The reason why I started with the project is that I was part of an exhibition called Rethinking Masculinity, and I was working with a non-binary person, and I felt in general that what they were saying were also reflecting on everybody, like what is masculinity, what is gender identity, and I wanted to have that person to make all of us think. Anyway, the first picture you're seeing here is Inda Jazz from London. They are identifying as a non-binary person. It's been a really big research project because it's not easy to find everybody in different countries, and some countries is even quite dangerous and illegal to have a different gender identity. So I must say that I had two people helping me with the research. We've been contacting people on Instagram, contacting queer organizations, but now the whole community is helping me. So if I'm going to one country, I will get people from a country next to it that's been helping me. So this is Melino from Botswana. And in Botswana, it's a bit easier. It's legal to be queer. And Melino was kind of happy about their situation. Many of the people I've been photographing use different pronouns. So sometimes I will use they, them, sometimes he, she, or yeah. So if I'm trying to say the pronouns that people want me to use on each person. With Melino, we only had 5 minutes. I almost didn't have time to take the photo, but we were so lucky that we had because they were coming from another city. I was going with the airplane, so we were lucky to have those 5 minutes, and I think the photo turned out quite beautifully. This is Leo from Norway, and I'm Algerian Norwegian, but in Norway it should, and it is much easier to be a non-binary person. But I must say that even from working in countries where it's very difficult, like Tanzania or Kenya, I think that the countries like Norway, the States, the Western countries where it's legal should be like countries that's going in front, but it's still a lot of stigmatization and problems for non-binaries, even in Norway. And this is something I really wish that were different. Yeah. This is Albi from Tanzania, and Tanzania is a very difficult country to be gender non-conforming or queer, and is illegal. We tried to take the photo on the beach, but we got people were running after us. So this was the day after. But Albi was really telling me about a lot of difficulties. One thing that people have been telling me about, from Kenya and Tanzania, that is quite horrible, and it makes projects like this very important, is that a method that the police can use, or even other people, is correction rape. And that's the most horrible situation, where people get raped to kind of feel what gender they are. And this is a story that came out from many of those countries. So the reason why I'm also showing the faces from those countries is that most of the people I've been photographing are activists, and they want to show their face. But I always only use their first name, and they can choose their first name. So it's not possible to track people with their name online. So that's kind of the protection that I've been using. But many of the people that I met really also want their story to come out. Yes, This is Christer André, that's also from Norway, and they were the first person that I actually photographed in my project. This is Luca from London. I also been using like my visual references in my project. I really wanted to use a lot of daylight and with hard shadows. I'm going to talk a little bit about in the end, where I'm showing some of my inspiration more in the visuals. This is Pung Charang from Thailand, also in the activist network. And I've been so honored and so touched by people traveling to meet me like 2 hours from where they were. And people really have been wanting to join the project. And in the end, it will be a book. I've been showing many pictures at different exhibitions. Here, I just wanted to show this picture of Edea because I thought it was just interesting because I had an exhibition where Edea was part, and this is Edea at the exhibition, so it's kind of a meta photo. This is Kushi. That's also an amazing person. I must say I've been so privileged. So many of the people I've been meeting are fantastic, hard-working people. So the project is also text-based. So every time I meet a person, I make a small interview, and I write the interview and send it back to them so they can correct it if they want to. It's been very important for me that the words are coming from the people that I'm interviewing, because I feel like a lot of people feel misrepresented, and many people were talking about that. So it's been very important that all the texts are from the person that I'm interviewing, and the text in the book will also be from a non-binary person. Yeah. It's so interesting because the terminology can be very different in different countries. So if I'm working on the countryside in Indonesia or in New York, the terminology is quite different, but the feelings are the same. The feeling of not fitting into being the binary man and woman. So this is nothing new. This is something that has always existed, but even like some of the terminology can be new. But if you look back, this is something that started from man's beginning. Like I've been reading a lot about colonialism, and that through the colonialism, Western colonialism, we actually changed a lot of people. Like it was more floating in many tribes before, like even Native American. Now we're calling it two spirits, but it was many places in the world where the gender identity were more floating. And then the Western colonization with Christianity was really like putting the gender identity much harder than it was before. And I think this is kind of a very important part of the story. So I've been showing the project as much as I can all over the world. And of course, there's different reactions from where I show it. This is in Sarajevo, where it's more strict than, for example, in Norway. But I find the discussions that I have with people after the exhibition very, very interesting. And I know there are a lot of people making this kind of project now, and I think it's super important because this is not a fight only for people that's feeling outside the binary. This is a fight for everybody. And it's also cis people's fight, because many times if you are with only cis people and they will say bad things, it's also your responsibility to stop those conversations and to really be supportive, because this is a fight that everybody should take now, and to normalize something that's completely normal. Yeah, I just wanted to show you this exhibition. This was on the train station in Norway. And I love that exhibition because it's reaching out to a really huge audience. It was kind of in between the commercial, but this is the kind of exhibition I would like to have more, actually, because it's reaching to a bigger audience outside the white cube. So New York Times was also writing about the project. And it was so fascinating and interesting for me that in the comment field, it was so many harassment comments. And when I read that, and I had also talked with all the people that I've been photographing, because some of them were really harsh, I feel like we have a long way to go when I read those comments, and that gender is something we need to talk about. Yeah, and from Helsinki, that I'm very happy to be part of. I'm trying not to use too much time, but I just wanted to talk about some of my visual references, because I'm always very inspired by paintings. These are paintings by Lucian Freud, and the things that's fascinating about his painting is like the depths of psychology, and I really wanted to kind of get some of the same depth in my photos. This is Alice Neal from the States. She's a painter. She was painting these pictures in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. And the thing I really love about her painting is that they're quite contemporary. They're timeless. And I think as a photographer, to get that timelessness in your photography is something that I'm really trying and searching for. I think that's my time.
Yes, thank you very much, Linda, to bring and explain the backgrounds of a queer, or how it is defined by society these days. I mean, it's very impressive that you developed this project, as well as I understood a research project among colleagues and other academics, because I think considering that being a queer has appeared within the last hundreds of years, it's still something that is a minority that is not enough expressed and discussed. And as you have been saying to the New York Times article, you have been receiving a lots of angry voicing, which is a sad fact that is a global phenomena, that it should be normal, everything should be normal, but it isn't. So it was really wonderful to have this project to be a winner in this open call and to be displayed at Helsinki Photo Festival. Now I've been told that we are a little bit over time, so I'm very sorry. I have to again cut you short and not ask so many questions. We had some, but now unfortunately we missed that time, so I have to move already to the last guest of this show. We are moving now over to France. Thank you very much, Linda, and talk to you later a bit more. So now I'm welcoming Charlotte Lakits from France. Bonjour, Charlotte.
Bonjour. Hi, everyone. And thank you for having me. Should I share my screen, maybe?
Yes, that would be nice.
So I can see it's here. But I don't know how to make it full screen.
I think that if you press the play button, then yes.
Now? How is it now?
Now we see your presentation. Perfect.
All right.
So I will cut myself short since we are a little bit late in this webinar. So please just begin.
Yeah, okay. So thank you for inviting me. Means a lot for me to have this opportunity to talk about my work. And yeah, there is so much I want to say, but I know I only have 10 minutes. So I'll try to just give a quick overview on my project about the youth in Greenland and the way I worked. Also the process of making those images. So the images I'm showing at the festival in Helsinki, they are part of my latest work, which is actually the biggest project I've ever worked on. It's called Who We Are. And so in this project, I'm asking who the youth of Nuuk, the capital of Greenland, is. But I'm also asking myself, who am I as a photographer? And what can I do? And what do I want to do? Because my position as a photographer, and let's say the power one photographer has been something I've been questioning a lot while working with indigenous people in Greenland. So yeah, before I start, I think maybe there are a few things that you need to know about me. So I'm a French photographer. I was born in Paris in a family who gathered different nationalities from Eastern, Western, Northern Europe. And I had a Danish grandmother, so I speak Danish, which I think was important to mention because, as you may know or may not know, Greenland was a Danish colony. So actually a lot of people there speak Danish because they had to learn it at school. Yeah, and talking about school, I have a background in philosophy, which can explain why I have a tendency of asking questions sometimes more than answering them, and also why I can be boring when I talk, but I will try not to be. So since 2018, I've been traveling back and forth to Greenland, working on different projects. And it's only after a year or so of being an observer, more than a photographer, that I started working with the youth. So it was a very long process. And yeah, I don't want to get too political here, but what led me to do the work I did has a lot to do with what I experienced in Denmark. I'll try to stay diplomatic because it's called diplomatic session when talking about it. But my personal feeling was that something wasn't right. Like after my first trip to Greenland, I was living in Copenhagen, and there wasn't a single day when I wouldn't hear negative things about Greenland or Inuit. And I started being tired of this. Like, why would people talk about something they don't know about? Because none of them had actually been to Greenland. They have read stuff, they have seen images, just like I did before I went to Greenland for the first time. And I kind of started having this feeling that people were still being trapped in a way of seeing things, maybe a way of thinking that in many ways remained colonial. It was still the colonizers' eyes. Stories were always told from a European perspective, and there were too little space for Inuit voices to be heard. And I know that I've been trapped myself, but my way of seeing things changed quickly after I traveled. And actually, I remember being shocked because Greenland was nothing like what I'd seen in medias before. It was nothing like a desperate and isolated place where all the people are depressed, alcoholic, and want to commit suicide. Because sadly, if you're Dane, this may be what you have in mind when you think about Greenland. When in France, it's a bit different. We don't hear much about the people, but mostly about climate change and the ice melting, sometimes as if there were no people living in the Arctic. And it's been my experience too that a lot of photographers are coming to Greenland documenting something that is going to disappear, which wasn't my opinion and which wasn't my perspective at all. Because I kind of see the opposite of that. I saw a land which was pretty alive. And it's true that Greenland had been going through tough times and still is. But I don't think that Inuit or their way of life are gonna disappear, saying that they're strong and they survived the Arctic climate, they survived for centuries of colonization, and they're still here. It's been exactly 300 years this year since Hans Egil, a Danish Norwegian missionary, established the first colony. And my series is about a new generation that sometimes still lives in his shadow, but who is working really hard to set himself free from any form of colonialism. And I wanted to show those who are fighting, because there are so many. I've seen them, and everywhere there was this energy and a strong sense for the collective that I'd never seen anywhere else. And this is actually what I have in mind now when thinking about Greenland, is them all together fighting, not being victims, but slowly taking back control. It's everyday small victories and big achievements, like relearning Greenlandic, learn how to play the drum, learn how to hunt, how to fish, but at the same time going to the university, being climate activist, Inuit right activist. So I wanted to show all this. Yeah, there is this question of who is showing you images and why, that I always had in mind. And I guess that I can say this series is my meeting with the youth. So it's me coming back to the land with a certain background at a certain moment. It was after an art festival in Nuuk in November 2019 that I started being friends with young people, so people around my age. And I asked them if they wanted to do a project together, and they said yes. So I started taking portraits, and I asked them to write text where they should be free to talk about anything they thought was important to tell. Also, the process of making the portraits was very collaborative. I would ask them to show me places they like or symbolic places, and sometimes they would even direct the shot more than I would. We will really be like working together when making images that should represent them. And yeah, I had about 20 portraits and text when I first exhibited the project in Denmark, and people were being pretty positive about it, like both Danish and Greenlandic people. I sometimes also had funny feedback. Like I remember this Danish boy looking at one of the portraits. I think it's this one with this boy wearing this North Face jacket, and so this guy told me like, oh, I didn't know they have the same clothes that we have. And because of this comment and because of many others, I started realizing that what we were doing was important, and I decided to make it bigger. So I went back to Nuuk, and then the project expanded pretty fast to all kind of people, all kind of personalities. And today I have about 100 portraits and stories, which all together tell a collective history. I think it tells a generation from different perspectives and using many voices, which I think is important because, yeah, you know, things are not just like black and white. And I don't know if it's because of my background, but I've always been interested in studying different perspectives and different sides of a story. I think that if you want to tell the story of a people like the Inuit in Greenland, you have to take into account many stories, because there is this collective history, but there's also the way every individual reacts to it or is affected by it. But as I said, I could always find some shared feelings, maybe a shared attitude, And I wanted to show the beauty of having this entire generation fighting for the same things, and this energy, which was really intense. So in the end, this is a story about rising, about them becoming who they are, and me understanding what I want to do with my camera now and in the future. Like, always take time to listen, give space, and work with respect. And maybe the most important thing, learn to unlearn, especially when you are a privileged person working with minorities. And I love to think that when making images, it's more about receiving something more than taking a picture. Yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Laura. Charlotte, I'm sorry. That happens. No, well, it makes now very much sense for me since you brought in your Danish grandmother, because we were wondering what on earth made you to go to Nuuk, to the end of the world.
Yeah.
And this is very, very. It was really, really impressive what pictures you were able to capture from the indigenous people in Nuuk. Now we have come slowly to our end of this presentation. I don't know whether any questions. I mean, what would be very nice if, I mean, everybody has now seen each other's presentations. Are there any questions across photographers, how you would like to comment on each other's, or is there something, would you like to say something to each other? Then now is the time. We can give you a slot to speak to each other.
Well, I can briefly say something. I thought it was extremely inspiring to not just to see another artist's work, but actually had this opportunity to watch them present it. I understand that it almost adds another level to it. It really makes you understand what you're looking at. And also each artist put images in a certain order. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity. It was quite amazing. I enjoyed all presentations. Absolutely inspiring. Really beautiful work. Beautiful work.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Angelika. Susana, Linda?
Yes.
In my case, just to say thank you to the other companions, because their work, I agree with Angelika, are really inspiring, and it's very interesting to see how who was the process to and the concept and develop the project. So it's amazing to share this meeting with all of them. I am very happy. Thanks for all of you.
It's also always so nice to hear the author behind the photography in a way, because you get more context to each project. So I was also very happy about that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. It's, I mean, we prefer to support innovation, and we are trying to embrace interaction between the participants and the open call winners every year. And I think so these webinars, which is a new thing from our side for the audience, I think we have just moved one step further ahead by making a better connections all around the world, and a better understanding why photographers has been winning in this in this year's open call. Because sometimes we receive this question, why did this artist, and what was his theme to make him so fearless? And I could say, like all of you have managed this with bravura. So thank you very, very much for participating, presenting your works to everybody, and being a part of this project. And that's it.
Thank you.
For having
Thank
us.
you.
And yes, and